and welcome to my July wrap-up. And just like the last few months, I'm filming this a little bit early. I just don't think I'll be able to film it over the weekend, and just want to get it done just in case. So this month I read 18 books, 1 novella, and 1 graphic novel, which is a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's less than I read the last few months. And I think that's really just the end of the month. It's after Booktubeathon, I took a few days off where I wasn't reading, and then ever since then I've been reading at a much slower pace. So yes, but I'm still happy with what I did, so I'm not complaining at all. And I did a lot of video reviews this month, so I'm gonna go through the books I reviewed first. So first is the Breathing trilogy read by Rebecca Donovan. So that's Reason to Breathe, Barely Breathing, and Out of Breath. And I did do a series review on these. I honestly don't remember if I got into spoilers, but if I did, it was after I did a non-spoiler review, because that's what I always do. And I'm going to link all my reviews in the description in case you want to check them out, because I'm not really going to talk about those books in this video. I will tell you I gave all 3 of these books 5 stars, and I just suggest checking out my review, because even though I gave them all 5 stars, I wouldn't necessarily recommend these to everybody. Next is Iona, which is the second book in a duology. The first one is Eon, and I read that a few months ago, and I just uploaded a review of this as well, of the whole series, and I gave this 4 stars. Yeah, 4 stars, this book. And you can check out my review if you want to know a little bit more about it. This is just like a high fantasy story. Next are 6 of the books I read during the Booktubeathon, and they are the Complete Gallagher Girls series by Ali Carter. So I'd Tell You I Love You, But Then I'd Have to Kill You, Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy, They're Out of Order, Don't Judge a Girl by Her Cover, Only the Good Spy Young, Out of Sight, Out of Time, and United We Spy. Again, I did a non-spoiler series review for this. The first 2 books got 4 stars, the 3rd and 4th got 4.5, and the 5th and 6th got 5 stars from me. It's a really good, fun, unique series. I recommend Ali Carter, hands down. Next is Attachments by Rainbow Rowell, and this got 4 stars from me. And I actually read this while I was reading the Breathing series. I read the first 2 books in that, and then I needed like an emotional break, so I picked this up. And I did review this. It's an adult novel by Rainbow Rowell, and it's my 2nd book by her. I've only read Fangirl other than this. I did enjoy it, and you can check out my review if you want to know any more. Next is the other book I read during the Booktubeathon, and that is Pride and Prejudice, a graphic novel. It's obviously by Jane Austen, and it's adapted by Nancy Butler and Hugo Petrus. And Nancy Butler is the one who did the word parts, and Hugo Petrus is the one who did the art in here. And this was a reread for me. I talked about it in my Booktubeathon wrap-up. I had to read this in college for a class on Austen, and it's a pretty good adaptation of the story, but the pictures for me draw too much from the Keira Knightley version of the film instead of being more original. And I said this last month with when I read the Vampire Academy graphic novels, I'm just not sure adapting an existing novel to graphic novel form works. The pacing typically feels off to me, and I just feel like there's something lacking. 2 romance novels, one I own, one was a library book, so I've already returned it. The one I own is If Wishes Were Earls by Elizabeth Boyle, and this was a real disappointment. 2 stars from me, which I feel really bad about, because I really like Elizabeth Boyle, and in general I like her works. Granted, this is kind of like an unrequited love story, which is my least favorite trope in romance novels, but I didn't buy the romance. Whenever the characters were together, I didn't feel anything more than a platonic friendship, and I struggled to get through it. it was a disappointment, and I like can't even remember at this point all of the things. There was one thing in here. Is it the story? I think it is. Yeah, the hero in here has some aunts, and they were fun, and I enjoyed reading about them. And Confessions of a Wicked Earl by Lorraine Heath, and this got 4 stars, and this was perfect. Like, this is not, well, obviously not perfect because it didn't get 5 stars, but I very rarely give romance novels 5 stars. But it was exactly what I was looking for, and what If Wishes Were Earls like didn't give me. It's a really weird story. It's about a man and a woman, and they get married, and on their wedding night he walks in on his wife, like his brother is in his wife's bed, and so he like obviously gets upset and leaves her in the country, and he's just lived in London this whole time. And then I don't remember why, but for some reason she comes to London, and they like start associating again, and they have to deal with all of that. He has to deal with like his relationship with his brother and all of those things, and the whole like finding his brother in her bed thing. That whole story was very over the top and dramatic, but I kind of expect that sometimes in romance, so it worked. It was kind of crazy, but it worked. And I really liked it. It was steamy but not over the top, and I really cared about these characters, and I was invested in them getting their happily ever after. And it's the first in a trilogy, I believe. So the hero has 2 brothers, and from what I've seen, they each get their own book. So I would like to read about both their stories as well. Oh, then I read a book I bought in July, and that was Rosebush by Michelle Jaffe. First of all, I just want to say that this is like the most unrelated book cover I've ever seen in my life. Like, there's like a very mild romance in here. Like, it's barely anything in the plot, and I just find that this cover is really misleading. I remember there being another cover at the outlet store when I bought this, and I didn't get that one because it was $1 more, and I kind of wish I had at this point, because I think that one was more imagery and not people on the cover. I think when I hauled this, I read the blurb on the back that said part psychological thriller, part chicklet. This page turner is filled with quirky characters who are easy to love and hate. And I think that's actually a pretty accurate description. It is a psychological thriller, but it has a lot of chicklet elements in it. So it's about a girl, and she wakes up in a rose bush, and she was told that she was hit by a car and it was an accident, but she doesn't think it was. She thinks somebody tried to kill her, and she doesn't remember anything. And so throughout the story, it takes place only over a couple days, but you travel through time in it, like into her past and everything. You're slowly being exposed to more things, and then, but depending on the context that she views them, they mean different things. So you never know who to trust. You never know if you can even trust her. Like, is she a reliable narrator or not? I constantly was changing my mind about what was happening in here, and I'm fairly certain I was never right, ever. But it was enjoyable. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked it. I would like to read it again in the future sometime to see if maybe if I can like pick up on things the second time around. And in a lot of ways, this is kind of what I was looking for in We Were Liars that I didn't get, because I didn't really like that. But this was fun. My only real complaint is the cover. And then I read What I Thought Was True by Huntley Fitzpatrick, and this got 4 stars for me as well. And I did enjoy this. I don't want to say I didn't, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be exactly. But I enjoyed reading it. I'll read it again in the future. One thing I really liked is the way sexuality is dealt with in this story. Like, there's this odd blend of acceptance and borderline slut-shaming, but it was handled really well. I liked the guy, Cassidy. He was fun. I you get invested in so many of the characters, like not just the main two characters, but her cousin and her best friend and her brother and her parents. Her whole family relationship was really fun. And she basically, the main character is, she lives on like this island, and it's like one of those islands where people come in the summer, like wealthy people. So you have the people, like the island kids who are like the poor kids, and then the wealthy kids. And so it deals with those issues. And the hero in the story, I say hero because I'm like a romance novel person, so I automatically like use that language. He's like one of the rich kids that come in the summer and everything. But my one thing about this book is people that read My Life Next Door, which I really liked and gave 5 stars, a lot of people said they thought it was really forgettable. And that's how I feel about this one. Like, I enjoyed it. I'm happy I read it. I'll probably reread it at some point in the future. It was a nice summer read. But, you know, most of it hasn't really stuck with me. I read it at the beginning of the month and things are already kind of just like leaving. Where like My Life Next Door, there were parts in that book that I was just like blown away by, but not with this so much. Then I read A Want So Wicked by Suzanne Young, and this was the follow-up to A Need So Beautiful, and which I read last month, I think. And I gave this 4 stars, which I believe is what I gave, and this is a library book, so it's all shiny, which I believe is what I gave A Need So Beautiful. And this is a really hard series to describe, and it's even harder to describe the second book. So if you want to know what it's about, just like look it up on Goodreads, because I think that'll be easier than me trying to explain it. But I thought it was a good conclusion, although saying that, I could easily have another book. There's a lot of things left unanswered, but I'm not disappointed in those things. Like if I got it, if there's never another book, which I don't think there will be, I'm not disappointed. But if there were a third book, I would read it and I'd be excited for it. It's a really unique story, and the main character is really interesting. I really enjoy the way Suzanne Young writes, so I think I will, she's quickly becoming like an auto-buy for me. So next is The Last Olympian by Rick Riordan. This is the last Percy Jackson book. And this got 4 stars from me. I have to say, The Titan's Curse is still my favorite. I don't know. I really liked it. I feel like a lot of people didn't, but it's my favorite. But I did enjoy this. Did I say I gave it 4 stars? I gave it a good conclusion. A lot happened in here. Like, a huge, like this much of the book was, like, action, which at first when we started getting into the action, I was like, oh, is this gonna be like too much? But it wasn't. The pacing was really good. It made sense. It kind of made it more believable. It felt like a war instead of a one-off battle. Oh, sorry, like a lot of books, which I did enjoy. I liked Percy. I liked to see characters developed. I guessed a lot of things, but I still enjoyed it. And I am eager to read the Heroes of Olympus series. I really enjoyed this. I think they're campy, which is kind of my style. So, oh, speaking of campy, because, like, no one watches my videos, but still, I'm going to try. Okay, so, this is a tangent. I was looking at new shows that are starting in the fall, which I do plan on doing a video as we get closer to the fall, like I did last year, talking about TV shows I'm excited for, and I will talk about this then too. But ABC has a show coming out. It's called Gallivant, and it's a musical comedy fairy tale. Looks like it's going to be really campy. It has Lassiter from Psych in it, so plus. And Alan Menken is writing the music, which if you like Disney music that's not Frozen, because he didn't do Frozen, but pretty much all Disney music is Alan Menken is connected to, like a lot of our your classics and stuff. So of course I'm excited. You should check out the trailer. If I remember, I will link it below, but you should watch it because I think it's going to be good. It's going to be ridiculous and campy, but it's going to be good. But I'm afraid it's going to fail because I don't think it's going to have appeal for mainstream America. So I'm trying to push it on anyone I can so they can watch it. Well, the last book I read I actually just finished this today, is Nevermore by James Patterson, which is the last book in the Maximum Ride series. And this got 3 stars from me, and I feel like I gave it 3 stars. I think the last star might have been a pity star. Maybe it should be 2. I don't know, I can't decide. I struggled to finish this, and just like when I read Angel, which was that last month or the month, I don't know, whenever I read that, I'm not sure if I've outgrown the series or if the writing changed. I don't know. At some point I will probably reread these and we'll see then, but that probably won't be for a long time. So if you don't know what the series is about, it's about a group of kids and they have like mutated DNA. So they have wings and other bird-like characteristics. So like they have the like hollow bones of a bird, so they're easier to fly and everything. They also each have like other things that they have, and it's a little bit like Dark Angel, like that concept, if you've ever seen it, with Jessica Alba. Jensen Ackles is in it. He's attractive. And Michael Weatherly from NCIS. This is the 8th book, so it's an 8-book series. It's intense. I actually thought it was supposed to end on book 4, and then it didn't, and I was like, wait, what? Especially in this book, the main character Max started to really get on my nerves, and I felt like a lot of the plot things were just contrived for the book to keep going, if that makes sense. And I wasn't completely impressed with the way it ended. I don't know, so I gave it 3 stars. And then I read Shadows by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is the like prequel novella thing to the Lux series in preparation for Opposition to come out. Oh, so excited for Opposition. So Shadows is basically the story of, what is his name? What is his name? Damon's brother, whose name I can't remember, and I'm really ashamed. Obviously it starts with a D, but it escapes me, and Beth. It's their story, which was interesting to read for obvious reasons, but it was enjoyable. I gave it 4 stars. It was fun. It was really fun to see like Dee and Damon before Katie, like before the Lux series and everything, and to have just like a different romance, I guess. So those are the books that I read in July, and my TBR should be up relatively soon. If you want to let me know what you read this month or talk about anything, feel free to leave it down in the comments, and thanks for watching. Bye!